Welcome to our regular meeting of council, live streamed electronically, Tuesday, February 21st at 6 p.m. Our opening of meeting, the land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. And we'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Adoption of agenda, moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, that the regular meeting of council agenda dated February 21st, 2023 be approved as amended to move item 8A from information to action this date. All in favor? And that's carried. If anyone has any disclosure of interest, they can declare it now or at any point in time during the meeting. Next is our minutes of previous meetings. Regular meeting of council, February 7th, 2023 minutes. Moved by Deputy Reid Carroll, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council, February 7th, 2023 be approved as amended. All in favor?
I have a question. I was just wondering, regarding the hospital funding, is there a reason, perhaps that I'm not aware of, why we wouldn't consider sending surplus to the hospital?
I think the council that voted on it said we weren't sending any.
But there was, like, that's the reason? Like, there wasn't like a reason perhaps that I missed in the conversation or something that...
We all gave reasonings during the meeting.
We also...
That the reasons as we felt it. You can go back and watch it, or
we can go through again too. Also, it was additional information that had been requested hadn't still been forwarded. So it was just felt that at this point in time, plus, I mean, I did state that for those that had contacted me from the community, there was no support in it because of the geographic area of Montague. Others that were using different hospitals, and they did not want their tax dollars going to one specific hospital.
Okay, so you had heard back from...
I had heard back some residents.
Okay. That would, yeah, that's the answer I'm looking for then.
Okay. So the minutes of the regular meeting of council, February 7th, 2023 be approved as amended. All in favor? And that's carried. Business arising from minutes of our previous meeting? Anything else? No? Okay. Next is our delegation, Friends of the Andrewsville Bridge. Karen Cunningham, welcome.
So good evening. So I'm actually here with my friend and colleague, Rory Blaze. So we represent the Andrewsville Bridge, and I'm happy to say that we are represented on both sides of the river. So different taxpayer base, but we're brought together by vested interest in saving the Andrewsville Bridge. What we're going to talk about here today, of course, is the purpose why we're here, and we do have some requests to council and looking for your support as you go to meetings beyond here. So firstly, we're looking to seek support and commitment of yourselves to fully evaluate the closure of the recommendation of the Andrewsville Bridge as it relates to a few of the followings. We're looking to request you to direct staff to do a fulsome research assessment on the importance...
Karen, can you just share your screen?
Oh, no, I can't. Sorry.
Thank you. Just so the people on YouTube can
Sure,
see it.
I'm just trying to see it here. Now, Grace was kind enough to show
Should
me.
be there. Yeah. And then share screen at the bottom.
I did listen to what she said. This one here?
Your PowerPoint. Yep. Thank you.
C'est tout? Okay, so we'll just go again in my flow here. So the purpose is as follows. So we're requesting council to direct staff to do a fulsome research assessment on the importance of the Andrewsville from all angles and without prejudice. So we're looking for an assessment that's based on growth projections of the identified settlement areas that are known as Merrickville, Montague, Leeds, and Grenville in the 443 corridor, the infrastructure requirements to support that growth, the master transportation assessment that has never been done over the counties together, sustainability and ESG assessment that will be dramatically impacted because we will be legislated to be paying into that in the next couple of years as a county. And ultimately, to consider the quality of life based on current state and future state out to 2031. The second request is we're seeking for you to engage an arm's length viability assessment of the bridge replacement and or rehabilitation based on proven and known developments that have occurred since 2012. And that's the last information that has been used for the assessment that's driving the decision that's going to be proposed, I believe tomorrow actually. The third request is that we're asking you to direct staff to engage a third party to oversee the reconciliation of funding commitments and direction of taxpayer funds committed to the Andrewsville Bridge over the last year by your taxpayers, because there's some clear discrepancies there that we're concerned of on a secondary note. So, and to move my screens forward. So we clearly recognize where Andrewsville is itself is a complex environment. It's multiple jurisdictions, multiple government agencies, and we wanted to be able to set the contacts and demonstrate that we've done our due diligence and research to make sure that we're providing a fulsome picture and not just one that's very narrow in nature. We've reviewed the provincial policy statement of 2020, for which all policies and official documents or official plans are written. We've reviewed the growth projections of Ottawa and how it's going to affect us. We've reviewed the official plan of Merrickville-Wolford. We've the official plan of Leeds-Grenville, the Sustainable Communities official plan of Lanark, and of course our own official plan in Montague. I'm not going to go through this slide in depth, but I'm asking you as in good faith as councillors to review it at your leisure and in short order, because this directly comes out of the Ontario Provincial Policy of 2020. Specific areas that when organizations, when counties or land growth is occurring, that you would need to take into consideration. Infrastructure and public service facilities, transportation systems, long-term economic prosperity. And I've actually gone ahead and actually color-coded it so you know which ones are going to affect your growth, your finance, and your greening. And these have actually driven a lot of the official plans that we've reviewed. This one is an actual critical slide that you in fact should be aware of. What this is showing here, and for Montague itself, is 20% of all of our residents who currently live here commute outside of our area to work. And interestingly enough, that's 43% of North Grenville and 19% of Merrickville. So that's a tremendous amount of people. But what's more staggering, and I'll just move to the next page, is what you're going to see is Merrickville, Wolford, and North Grenville in its south, those combined, their population is supposed to grow to 88.9% of what it was in 2006. And Montague's growth is going up to by 57.6 by 2031. That's 7 years from today. That's over 100,000 new people in our community. That's a staggering amount. So do we have the infrastructure in place to support this growth? So quickly, high level, and again, I'm doing this out of transparency to show you the criticality of the official plans of our neighboring communities. Merrickville has recognized that the opening of Highway 416 has greatly facilitated the community's potential for residential and tourism growth. They're currently being hampered, but that in the summer they get so much influx that when the bridge that's in their community closes, they're getting back up right through the main streets and off the side streets so people can't get around. In fact, affecting EMS people moving around, as well as the tourism experience they're trying to establish. And the only way, it's only going to be exacerbated when Andrewsville's closed because there's no offshoot to avoid that congestion, right? So it goes against what they're trying to establish. And there's certainly a few more pieces to consider. The other thing that we need to be considered is that we're talking about commuting to Brockville, to Kingston, to Ottawa from outshed commuters. But we also have to remember about the commuting across the communities. Andrewsville actually is kind of a corridor everyone jumps on to get through to Smith Falls, to Brockville, to Kempville, to here. So you're limiting our ability. So in our own official plan, and this really struck me as I went through it, it only goes to 2028, which again is 5 years from now, and I really wanted to read this out to you. The settlement areas of Rosedale and Andrewsville are viewed as the most desirable areas for new development. By virtue, of course, we know Rosedale here, the characteristics of the community hall, proximity to the school, and central locations to the township. Rosedale is viewed as having a great potential to accommodate new growth. Andrewsville, by virtue of its proximity to the city of Ottawa, the village of Merrickville, and the historic Rideau Canal, is also viewed as having the potential to attract new growth opportunities. In fact, it makes Andrewsville an ideal location for new development to occur relative to other areas in the township. This is in our own official plan. As a result of this, this should be raised at the county level to say, this is something we believe, and this has never been risen in the past at the county level, to say it's part of our official plan that you folks are entrusted to deliver on. And lastly, the settlement areas designated, Rosedale and Andrewsville, are intended to include a modest allowance for new development to occur, but the boundaries of Rosedale and Andrewsville are intended to allow for significant new development opportunities. Closing the infrastructure before that development has even occurred is very short-sighted. So we're bringing that to your attention because if you close that Andrewsville Bridge, next year you're going to have to build a new bridge anyway. There's already 8 houses being built just up the street from me. So just in case you haven't looked at the official plan lately. Lastly now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the counties, and I'm just watching my time if I can get a time count, Grace. Leeds and Grenville, as the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, they're actually forecasting that the counties and local municipalities should plan to accommodate a total of 75,000 new people and 16,000 new jobs in the next 7 years. And all local municipalities have been experiencing net outcommuting to job opportunities outside our area, which I've already talked about. This is actually going to increase the congestion and traffic within our area. Hence, the Andrewsville Bridge becomes a key infrastructure component. We will be looking for you to bring to the United Counties and Leeds and Grenville's attention, as will we, their role in this situation. In our conversations with all the stakeholders, we've been basically told that Lanark County is the driver's seat as it comes to Andrewsville, and United Counties and Leeds and Grenville follow. Well, in fact, as a taxpayer and being part of the county, my expectation, as well as the peers here, is to look to UCLG to take an active and participatory role in the Andrewsville Bridge opportunity, because it's an opportunity. It shouldn't be a challenge or hindrance, as an equal partner with Lanark County. Because in their own official plan, it says, the county will ensure that a coordinated, integrated, and comprehensive approach is used when dealing with planning matters that transcend the boundaries of local municipalities, as well as the counties. That to me means that they have a stake in the game. And we'll be looking for that, not to take a fellowship, but be engaged into it. The same with Lanark. Across the county, it's estimated that 70% or more of the development takes place in the settlement areas. I've already explained to you what our projections are and how that's going to affect it. And there's an accountability from Lanark County to ensure that local planning and frameworks are established and that those people or those municipalities within it are able to obtain their growth structures within their official plan. So we need to make sure that we have all people at the table to make the right decision. And like I said, in every single official plan, population growth and infrastructure is key, of it, which Andrewsville is part of. So this is saying why we need to move forward. We recognize that we didn't want to come here and say, this is thou shalt, but we've done a lot of research. Currently, Lanark's recommended bridge was based on 2012 estimates, and it was very narrow. It was only looked at an environmental assessment. They did not look at the growth projections. They did not look at the official plan. There were some challenges there that they clearly missed, but that's okay. The bridge that they're recommending would be a cost of $4 million. What we're saying, since 2012, and I want to thank Rory because he's done extensive research, that we found a Canadian-based company who both UCLG and Lanark have already worked with. We've reached out to municipalities who have engaged Algonquin Bridge Systems for bridges like the Andrewsville Bridge in almost identical situations, and it would be half the cost. It would be a cost of the new bridge would be about $1.2 million, and the installation would be about $800,000, a total cost of $2 million, half of what Lanark County is telling us. So that's a significant discrepancy, and we've provided in the information packet, which you've already received, all the details on the Algonquin Bridge, plus the municipal references and information if you so choose to look at it. But more importantly, decommissioning the branch is too expensive. And I'm going to give Rory his couple of minutes here to talk about the environmental impacts and costs to the county.
Thank you, Karen. It's really easy to say that replacing a bridge is too expensive to do, but I want to talk about why not replacing the bridge is actually a more expensive alternative. One of the main differences between considering this decision now versus in 2012 or 2016 or any other time that it's come up at the county level is that now we have a federal government obligation to consider carbon pricing in any infrastructure projects. So we have to look at what's the carbon impact of not having a bridge there. I did a little bit of the napkin math based on the county's estimates of both traffic and the daily users. And every time someone has to detour around that bridge, it's going to take an extra 1 liter of fuel on average. Over a 25-year period, that's $2.5 to $3 million. So that's a lot of cost to the community members themselves over its lifespan, as well as what it costs to to the environment and to the municipalities. Over that 25 years, there's over 4,000 tons of CO2 that's generated from the detour paths, and that's still based on today's traffic numbers, which are low. It's a three-season bridge. So you imagine, bumping that out to a 4-season bridge, the traffic grows, immediately, not to mention the growth of the communities. That carbon, based on today's prices, is $200,000. Based on Canada's projections for 2030, or even past 2030, which isn't that far away, that rises to over 3 million. So adding those together, the cost of going without a bridge, it's a lot more than just replacing the bridge right now. And the alternative that we're proposing actually provides more value to the communities and saves costs. So what we're proposing saves a lot of the construction costs. It's an easier system to implement. It saves a lot of the environmental impact costs, and it provides more value. Full 4 seasons, instantly boosting traffic, maybe allowing more space for more pedestrians, more cars, and the county's current replacement proposal at a price tag of $4 million, when you break that down over a 25-year lifespan and the current usage rates, every time a car crosses, it's about $2.30 per vehicle. With our solution, it comes down to 70 cents per vehicle crossing. And again, those numbers are just based on paying $1.50 for gas today and the current traffic rates projected over 25 years. How reasonable is it to assume that traffic won't grow? How reasonable is it to assume that we're still going to be paying $1.50 for gas in 25 years? So those are lowball numbers. A bridge is not that expensive, and that's why what we're proposing is a cost-effective and a reasonable alternative. And we're asking that it be considered.
Great, thank you. So that is our request as it relates to the Andrewsville Bridge. And I think we've prepared a compelling argument on a number of fronts for you to take forward. Lastly, is the information on the bridge that we've already shared that you can reference yourselves. But we're also looking for clarification as it relates to funding. There has been some agreements back in 2012 and 2015 that both counties of Leeds, Grenville, and Lanark would commit $60,000 a year to the Andrewsville Bridge. That we're almost $1.2 million over the time because they committed till 2028. Only $86,000 of spend has been put towards the Andrewsville Bridge in that time. So we'd like to know where the money is. We'd like to know where the change in direction is, because that $86,000 was done to some repairs in the bridge. A report was finally done after those repairs had been implemented, and a report was done saying that that would give the bridge another 10 to 15 years of lifespan. Within 18 months of those repairs, a document came out from the CAO saying that we're moving to a pedestrian because it's no longer feasible. So it doesn't make sense. So we need clarification on that. Also, the $60,000 a year commitment that should have occurred would have actually paid for the bridge and then some over the course of the shared money. So we're looking for clarification. There was also decisions that were only made by the CAO that should have been signed off by the Public Works team, and that had also not been done. So, maybe the money's there, it just hasn't been allocated correctly, which would be great, and we can use that money now to move forward. So that is our ask. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to hearing what your next steps will be.
So I can clarify though, because the documents that I've read, Claire said that they would give the But it was over 5 years. It wasn't every year.
No, 2028. There was a motion actually that was done, that was signed by the warden. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name right off the top of my head, but I can go back. We've actually asked for all the council documents and everything and all the motions that were said. And it was to go to 2028 and they were signed off. So it wasn't even 5 years. It was for an extended period of time. And my apologies. I don't have those other documents handy. We also have another information request in to validate some of those other expenditures.
Yeah, because I thought the documents we got.
Yeah, some of the
said that.
clarification documents were that it was $50,000 for it was the initial one for, that was like the 2010 to
10,
2014.
that's correct.
And then the $60,000 was from the 2016 to 2028, but it wasn't per year is what their explanation was. It is $60,000 commitment for that time frame.
So if you understood,
Yeah.
I'd really encourage you to go to read the minutes of that council meeting,
Okay.
plus the motion that was passed, because it was for the period of the bridge up to 2028. It wasn't just for the short period of time.
But it wasn't per year though. It was
Per year.
It was
No, per year. Per year.
There's I'm gonna go back and read the minutes again, because my understanding when I read the minutes was that because the newspaper article
Yep.
stated something that stated that it was per year, where the minutes don't really show that the.
Yep. And I'm happy to share that with you.
That would be great too as well,
Yep.
if there's discrepancy there for sure.
And even so let's move that to the side.
Yeah.
The other challenges that you're seeing is the expenditures for upkeep and maintenance that are required for the bridge have not occurred. Were years, I think there was, 10, or no, I can't remember, but 5 or 6 years where absolutely not a single cent was put into the bridge for maintenance or upkeep. Even though the reports that had been sent and done saying with minimal upkeep, the life of the bridge would be maintained, there was a motion that was set in one council, and I'm sure we've got 4 here, said that they recognized it, but then it didn't follow through. So nothing got done. So again, there was some clear absence of due diligence for the maintenance of that infrastructural component. Any other questions?
So, yeah, I think this is great, Karen. I think this is what we need to be showing at the county for sure. I think it's gonna help us with the, sort of the more reasoning behind of why we need to do it. I mean, obviously, Karen and I put together a piece too as well that
Yep.
touched on it, but I'm glad that you're really going into to elaborate a little bit more, because what we touched on was really about the growth part of it. We referenced into our official plan too as well, in our letter too as well about that, about being one of our growth areas. And I think that's a big key as far as where we're keying on it. I hear even, obviously, Roy, you're talking about your 25 years. I mean, that bridge will be there for 75 years.
75, yeah.
So I mean, really, you're lowballing big time,
Yep.
which is great. I mean, I think that's exactly what we want to highlight too, as well as we get in the conversation too as well. And I guess the other side too as well is that when you were having that discussion too as well, is a big portion of that cost of any reconstruction was $600,000 of the retaining wall.
That's-
But what your talks is that the retaining wall is not part of the structure of one of the
Correct.
solutions that you're offering.
So one of the solutions that we're saying is the retaining wall will be maintained as it is. You don't have to take it out, so the heritage values remains there, the aesthetic value retains there.
And it's not used for a part of the structure.
No, absolutely not.
So that,
And there's no waste involved in that.
Yeah, so I think that's one of those big things when we get into that conversation of saying, like, we want then the county, we wanna go into the next step of saying, we don't want it to be closed, we're looking to explore the option of the recondition, but also to look at these options too as well, because this could be the better option. We wanna get away from the decommissioning the bridge to the replacement of the bridge.
The other question would be, as it related to the public consultation, as you're aware, it was extended upon our request, though we were not made aware that it had been extended, and we heard through the newspaper, that they still had established a meeting, making a recommendation to close the bridge or move it to a pedestrian bridge without aggregating the public consultation's information that had been provided. That is a bit of an integrity question that we have. I'm not sure how staff could make the decision to recommend the closure of the bridge when they haven't done their due diligence that looks at growth, aggregated the public and taxpayers' input into the public consultation, but still say we're making a recommended close 3 weeks prior to the actual closure of the public consultation session. It kind of goes in the face of what a public consultation session is. So we're hoping that you'll raise that as well.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
No, I think she answered a lot there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you. So next is our report of municipal officers, so clerk administrator and treasurer. Allison for deputy clerk job description, pay grade and hiring, please. Switch us back over.
She could take it off share. Thank you, Chair. So, in front of you this evening is the deputy clerk job description and pay scale based on the discussions at the previous meeting of February 7th. It was discussed that we would post internally for 5 days, and in the event that we didn't find someone successful, then we would post externally. So the job description has been scored. You will see the scoring attached as well, along with the pay grid of where the deputy clerk position would sit, highlighted in yellow. Is there any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions? I think it lines up for what we're looking for and what we discussed. I think that's great, Ally. I think it's something that we should be posting for sure, and let's start that process.
So moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council approve the deputy clerk job description and the amended 2023 pay grid as presented this date, and that council approve the posting of the job internally immediately. All in favor? And that's carried. And next is our junior planner, Kirsten, please, for our communication tower installation.
Sorry. A sip of water went down the wrong way. Good evening, Council. So the report that you have before you this evening results from communications from Rogers Communication with respect to a telecommunications tower at 326 William Campbell Road. As has been identified on many occasions, connectivity is very valuable within rural municipalities. And if you have any questions resulting from this report, I'll do my best to answer them.
Open it to questions. Guess not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council authorizes staff to issue a letter of concurrence for Rogers Communication Inc.'s proposed 91.5 meter guided communication tower at 326 William Campbell Road. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is our Montague 2022 Water Annual Report. Any questions?
It's pretty standard, so.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council accept the
Any
2022 Annual Water Report as presented for information. All in favor?
Miles does no concern, so I guess we could. Go forward.
So our reports of committee of the whole February 7th minutes. Moved by Councillor Deputy Carroll, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of February 7th, 2023, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? That's carried. Next is the Merrickville Library Board minutes from January of 2023. Moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council accepts the Merrickville Library Board minutes from January 2023 as information. All in favor? That's carried. We have no petitions, and we have a bylaw. So 3963-2023 Perro Development Agreement. Moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 3963-2023 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Claude Adrian Perrot and Eileen Gloria Perrot, the owners of lands legally described as part of Lot 22, Registered Plan 1184, Township of Montague, County of Lanark, designated as parts 1 and 2 on 27R 11923, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of February 2023. All in favor? And that's carried. We have no motion, no motion and notice of motion, and action, information item 8A moved to action items. County of Lanark, Andrewsville Bridge letter from Township of Montague.
So that's the letter that Karen and I put together, and Allison made it look better. And basically, it really does emphasize a lot of the points that Karen and Rory brought up too as well, but just another point from us too as well that I'm sure we're all in agreement to support for the Andrewsville Bridge, and it has some good data in there too as well. So. Yes, please.
Just on top of that, so we did also send a similar letter to the United Counties of Lees and Grenville and to Merrickville, just so I didn't put both of them on, it's the same letter, but to them.
So moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council accepts the letter to the County of Lanark as information. All in favor? And that's carried. And our next is no unfinished business. So, yep, questions from our audience? Nope. Questions from, no?
Beautiful.
Okay. So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that bylaw 3964/2023, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of February 2023. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council adjourn the regular meeting of February 21st, 2023 at 6:33 p.m. until March 7th, 2023 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair. All in favor? And that's carried.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to do the committee of the whole meeting. Where's the land acknowledgement first? Sorry, yes. The opening of the meeting, land acknowledgement. So the council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this is a sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located, and this meeting is being held is the ancestral land and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Ashabi Nation. And the adoption of the agenda, so moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the committee of the whole agenda dated February 21st, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? It's carried. And our first thing on the docket is Chief Greer and water operator for the annual summary report. which Allison's gonna do, or are we gonna worry about it? Are we just gonna read through it and say, any questions at all about it, or it's a pretty standard report every year? I regret it. Yeah, so if we're all good with that, then so moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny. The council accept the Montague 2022 Water Annual Report presented this date as information. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Miles. Next on the docket is Stephen.
Thank you, Councillor Deputy Reeve Carroll. Sorry, my apologies. So this report before you is Rosedale Hall parking lot tender results. So we tendered this out according to our procurement policy. There was a ton of interest. It almost had me a little worried. There was so many people interested in this project. I thought maybe we were thinking we were, into a really big project or something, but it was just our timing. So kudos to council on giving us the authority to go ahead and get this done nice and early. We heard lots of feedback on that we were pretty well the only project out at this time of year other than the county. So that's why there was so much interest. So it kind of shows in the tender results that you guys have seen attached. So the scope of this project, we have done a full rehab on the parking lot, removing the existing base material, putting in clean material, granular A, and then paving on top. I've added a provisional item for subdrain. Obviously, we all can understand with ditches, drainage is the most important thing. So I did make that provisional because there is quite a cost that comes along with subdrain. It's kind of labor intensive to install. So there's a couple options in there for council to go ahead and take that out if they'd like. There's an option to take out the back parking lot area behind the propane tanks, or to, we included where the one little drive up spot is at Rosedale Hall. There's a grass area just to the east of that between Rosedale Hall and the parking lot. We've put in to have that turned into fully parking lot just to make it a little more functional. And then a multi-use path that will go from the parking lot down towards the play structure. Basketball court down below the play structure, and then accessible swing is in there as well. So if anybody watching the drawing that we kind of did up is in the attachments to this report. And in-depth contracting was the low bid. So their total price, inclusive of non-recoverable HST, inclusive of all items, is $131,318.70. So with the grant funding, this does come in a bit higher than what is broken down. Obviously, I created a project that's a little more in depth with the subdrain than what the budget price is. So it would dip into reserves as council went with this motion that's before you. As stated, there's options to remove the back parking lot or the front parking lot, which both kind of come from $5,000 to $6,000, and then subdrains right in there about $7,000. So if council would like to combine a couple, I believe the saving or the reserves that we'd have to dip into is $314 possibly. So pretty minor if there's somewhere you guys, if you want to keep the reserves. But the recommendation by staff is to go inclusive of all provisions and everything in the contract and award it to in-depth contracting. For some people, they may not know who in-depth is. They are a smaller company out of Ottawa. As part of the tendering process, you have to put your experience. Staff-wise, very extensive, professional engineers on staff, foreman, everybody has lots of experience on this. And I followed up with 3 other projects with the City of Ottawa. I called all City of Ottawa staff on these projects, and they had nothing but great things to say. There was a couple intersections down by Gladstone, which is a pretty busy area. It was about 500,000. So I mean, this parking lot is definitely well within their scope of what they can do, and I think it's the best choice for Township Montague to award to in-depth and be inclusive of all options. If there's any questions on anything, I try to put everything in the report, but if I missed anything presenting tonight, feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Don't go anywhere. I have a few questions for myself, and I'm going to open it up to council to see if anybody has some questions first. I'm starting with Jim.
I think it's a very good report you did. I feel that if we're going to do something, my opinion is we do the draining and do the whole thing when we do it. There's no sense of doing something and then 5 years from here we have problems. So my opinion, I like what he's done, and I'm all for the drain and that. That's it for me.
Yeah, Gerald, go ahead.
Based on your pricing and everything else, everything looks great. You did put it out to a lot of, you had, I think, about 11 or 12 different companies
That's right.
bid on it. So The next price difference is a little bit more than what the $13,000 we're talking. For all intents and purposes, it would make more sense than doing a patch and piecework later on to try to do these things later on. This is probably the best way to do it. And, you know, I'm sure amongst the year, we're gonna find some cost savings somewhere else that we might be able to find the $13,000 here and there. So I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, go ahead.
I agree that I think we should do everything because, I mean, we put a lot of money into our hall. We're starting to get lots of use out of it, and the right way is to keep moving forward. So I think it's best, you're doing the work, we do it all now.
I had a question. I noticed that there was, sorry, I'm always gonna be that person, aren't I? I noticed that there was a comment about that in the future turning into green space.
Yes, so that's at the end of the report there. I was just trying to break out for council. There is a small portion at the Rosedale Hall at the back by the propane tanks. It is a parking lot right now, but it's really not functionality wise on that little piece. It's not really that functional for a whole lot of parking. So that's one of the options if council was to take out that 150 meter squared section. There's about $5,000 of savings, and I mean that would be either we leave the asphalt right now. Once it's completely deteriorated, we remove that, put in topsoil or something, or we go ahead and do it now. We're doing the project, just remove it, put topsoil in, and I mean the options for recreation committee or council to turn that into whatever, the options there. But that was kind of just another option that it could be turned into something more green space if required. If that answers your question on that.
So is that part of this costing, or?
That is in there, I believe. One of the financial options, it is to remove the parking
Is
lot
that
at
the removal
back.
of rear parking?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And that rear parking, sorry, I'm not familiar with the backside of Rosedale Hall.
So if you just scroll down a bit.
Is there a picture? I have no picture.
Sorry.
You have to click on site plan.
Site plan too, yeah.
Oh, I'm having that same problem that I mentioned before with my
Using agenda notes or using the website?
agenda notes isn't working. It's not loading the agenda
Oh,
again.
okay.
Same thing that happened last time. This is the rear parking, eh? Okay. Because I know that there's also the issue with some people going around behind Rosedale, driving back there, and perhaps partaking in activities that we don't want them to be partaking in behind Rosedale and getting up on the roof and things like that.
Yes.
Would removing this parking lot perhaps discourage these kinds of activities?
So I think it could definitely help. So basically, if we remove that one section, you're going to be pretty well visible from anywhere you go. The parking at the propane tanks, it has to be left that one small section just for delivery. But I think it definitely will hopefully cut down on the amount of activities that are happening behind the building, possibly. But if that was the case down the road, looking at grants, possibly put up a fence across there or something, I think that would be a great option for that. But again, I don't know if it would stop it or not, but I think it definitely would help
Discourage it.
discourage for sure.
Yeah,
Great. Is that good, Morgan, for now?
that's good for now.
Okay, Jim?
Is that right at the back where the dumpster used to be? Is that what you're talking about, right at the back of the building?
Yeah, right along the back
You go
side.
to the back, into the
And-
back, so you're talking about taking that
Right.
pavement out then?
That little jot that's in the building, the propane tanks are kind of set to the side
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
back of the
yeah.
building, and then there's a small little jot out, and then it's, like I say, it's probably about 5 meters in depth and then 10 meters long.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty small area, but it was another cost savings that council could look at, or another way to stop people from trying to use that for different motives, I guess.
That little space is $6,000 in savings?
If you were to dig everything out there, yes, and pave it, that's pretty well, you take one parking lot and put it into the other, or add another one, it's about 5,500, yes.
And if we choose to not, sorry, did you have,
No,
sorry.
go ahead, that's okay. Go ahead.
If we choose to not do that, in the costing that we have here, does that include to put topsoil and seed it? Or it would
It
just
does
be-
not, but I mean,
Then
the
it'd be
cost.
another option, leave it until it deteriorates, then topsoil, seed, or. yeah.
Exactly, yeah, the option right now would be basically just leave it as is. In paving terms, it's crocodiled already, so it's already deteriorated, it's pretty well done. But at this point, we could just kind of, if council wants to wait for another grant or something, we wait for that, or I believe you could get that, we do have great summer students a lot of the time, so you could probably get a load of topsoil pretty cheap. One day our public works guys are slow, there might be something we can do there. I mean, If we pay a contractor to do it, it's obviously going to be quite a bit more expensive, but there's definitely options on down the road looking at that.
That's great so far. So I guess it's a couple questions I have. So the sub drain, obviously, that's going to keep the basically pavement from cracking over like 10 years from now and 15 years from now. That's really the idea behind that.
Yeah, so I don't know so much prevent it 15 years from now cracking, but it's obviously, think of what we're doing is creating basically a bathtub, right? So you're excavating the whole parking lot, and if you don't allow anything anywhere for that water to go, it's just going to sit there, freezes, and that's going to come up, right? So all we're doing is basically giving that water an outlet down to our drains. So I mean, we don't need to have them per se, and hopefully our excavation is positive drainage from there, but there's a lot of ifs when you don't do it properly with subdrain.
So you just feel confident with that sub drain that it's going to just relieve those issues.
Subdrain is great, yes.
Yeah. Hang on, just sub drain again. My next one is and I'm glad we keyed on the back parking lot because it is a few questions with that too as well. That there could have been a cost savings there. Even the front one there, that's the grass space right now. What's the purpose of paving that when it's a nice green space and we've had events there, we were able to use picnic tables and everything there for like people to go out and eat and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I mean there is the option of trying to revert out. We have a door that goes out on top of the septic bed. Is that where we would try to convert for the outside idea, or is it? I hate to take that green space away. So
I'll take that one. So the most complaints we get is that we don't have enough parking. So this is one way to add more accessible parking with it being right out front of the building as well. Also, the current location of the picnic tables encourage the smokers to smoke right out front of the building, and it's supposed to be 9 meters from the doors. So we were hoping to kind of move the picnic tables away from the front entrances of the doors and add some additional parking, just because we have heard that numerous times that, I know it's not a lot of extra parking, but it is extra parking and it is accessible parking. So that was kind of the whole point of this grant, was from an accessible point of view, and why we're doing the accessible swing and the walkway and the pathway over there as well.
So do we see a potential issue if we were to move like 20 picnic tables and have everybody on the septic bed? Is there a potential issue for anything like that for hurting the septic bed if we were to move like any outdoor sort of ideas there?
I mean, you'd have to have quite a load on top of it to have an issue for sure. But there is quite a bit of green space still to the south of the play structure and the basketball court. And then, I mean, if green space is something council's looking at, I think that's why we kind of included that last option as well. And maybe you could pretty well swap parking from one area to another. And it's just a little more accessible at the front than it is at the back. It's a long ways around the building from the back. So, I mean, that's one option if you don't want to cut down, whether, at the back you put picnic tables or, you make that some kind of little green space that, I mean, it's endless what you could probably do. But if you want to kind of keep it to zero kind of, I guess, more asphalt, then that would be your way to cut back on that.
Yeah, and more just, we're gonna be moving somewhere, like, you want it as close to the building as possible when we're doing, like, if there's a supper there, people
Yeah.
wanna have like a quick, where do I go and sit down? We don't wanna say we'll go to the other side of the play structure. It's like, you walk out the door, that's why that's been convenient over the time. So that's why I say, okay, I'm cool with switching sort of the mentality of people doing, we have a door there too as well. So like, long as, using that area is okay, as far as letting people culminate on it and all that kind of stuff, it's not gonna hurt the septic bed over time.
For sure, and there's a small space between the building and the existing post office as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe we have 3 or 4 picnic tables down there right now, so we could definitely make that space work. It's going to be right along the pathway as well, so it's it's kind of on the way. But I do think it's probably a good idea, even from public works side of things, plowing and that is going to make it a whole lot easier by having that front section paved insteed of having the plows go in and tear the grass up, and it just definitely makes things easier, and we can make the picnic tables work definitely along the pathway.
Perfect. I think that answers a lot of my questions. I think maybe then, yeah, then doing that and giving more parking makes sense, and we can utilize a different area for that outside eating and outside. I guess the only question we have right now is, and correct me if I'm wrong, from anybody from council, is that back parking lot. Is that something that we want to maybe cut out to save a little bit of money, and might help deter some of those things that were brought up? Or is it that we want to just continue with that and we could look at other options in the future as far as like security cameras or security type sort of footage or go that route? So, I mean, I'll open that up. I mean, it's a good suggestion by Councillor Kenny, but yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I agree with you. I think if we're gonna do it, I think we should do it now. We don't wanna go in there after with trucks and start hauling out 150 square feet or wherever you got there and doing it for the sake it's gonna cost. So my opinion would be do it now.
Do
Take
the
it
whole
out.
thing as suggested by the staff.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then put grass seed in back there if you want or whatever.
Okay.
Remove the back parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remove the back.
Remove the pack, like not
yeah,
have.
take it out now.
So it'll
Take it out.
be similar cost, but you're just swapping out one for the other.
Essentially, yes.
Because that way you're not having to have dump trucks come in, load it back up with the backhoe on your brand new asphalt and tear it up.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. That's my opinion anyway.
So take it out and leave it as a.
Just put grass
Dirt.
back there.
And, and now are we gonna have the contractors do the grass seed, or are we using Steve's suggestion as, or in the summertime,
Just tell me.
yeah.
I'd like to use Steve's suggestion, and I also would like to tell Steve right now that I was on council for 2 terms before, excuse me, and we never had anybody come forward and offer from the township, from Steve's group of workers here, to do any of that. It was always put in the back burner, or we didn't have time to do it. So I gotta give you a lot of credit for speaking up and, you know, talking about different jobs you've picked up where I think it's just great what you're doing. So I like his idea of getting a little bit of topsoil layer and just putting it in,
So
a little bit of grass seed.
we dig it all out and we just leave that spot, and then in the summertime we'd have somebody in the one of our students maybe then get a load of topsoil and do the grass seeding and then everything else there. Does that make sense? Does that work, Steve? Is that what you're kind of lined up where you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, excavation wise, definitely makes more sense to have the contractor probably do that as when they're there, just so we're not going back over it. Whether we pay the contractor to apply the topsoil, it is a pretty small area. I mean, we're probably
Couple
talking,
yards.
yeah, not too much really. So if council would like to have the contractors go in and do it, definitely. But definitely we can, the Public Works, we do have a busy season coming up, but we can find time for sure. And I mean, the students, all it takes is a load from the 3-ton and then have the shovel
grass
there.
seed.
Yeah, and grass seed. So I mean, students, definitely I could take that on myself with the students. It's not a huge thing, but I think I would recommend that we pay the contractor to excavate and go from there.
Okay. Morgan?
Can I make one more annoying point? Maybe when the time comes, can we consider perhaps not grass seed and think about lawn alternatives?
Certainly it's on to council. I think if we could make a recommendation tonight, I guess, would probably be best, or by the time it goes to award next meeting at council, just so I can kind of talk to our contractor on what our scope's really going to be. So if I can get direction from council that we're just going to cut them off at excavation, or where we're going to draw that line, and then what staff is directed to complete, I guess, is our biggest thing. Ali, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I think that for the back parking lot, and I know that the Public Works crew take on tasks that we hand to them on a regular basis outside their scope. But for this, with just having heavy equipment and all those things, I think it's beneficial to have them dig it out. We also don't want to be coming back in with any kind of heavy truck with topsoil or something.
Backfill.
And they're already going to be coming in with topsoil to do some of the other work in the other areas to overseed and things like that. So if we can just get the direction, if we're taking out the back parking lot and having the contractor do that and put topsoil, and then it's up to council on what kind of seed or alternative seed that they want to put in that location, because it is at the back. So it could be like a pollinator area, it could be something different, because it is at the back of the building.
That sounds.
Is that what you were thinking, is
Yep.
like a pollinator?
Pollinator or even clover, if we want to be able to mow it, we can just do clover and it's mowable, but it will still provide, you know, it's better than just grass. Doesn't matter to me, a pollinator garden would be ideal, but I wasn't gonna go too crazy.
Okay, so that would be good. So I guess we're gonna take it out and leave
topsoil
it-
for now.
the topsoil for now, and then we can do some planting in the spring.
Awesome. So we are doing topsoil, and I definitely could look into pollinator stuff with the county. They have great little, small little sections they like to do, so I think that could be a great option for something at Rosa Hall, and people could kind of see what pollinators are, and could may take off in Montague if we do that, so I think that's a great option.
Yeah. We all in agreement there? Yeah, sure,
So-
why not, Tom? Why not?
One suggestion, if you're going to remove a grass section up front, just get in with a roller, cut it, put that grass over the.
Not a problem. We'll definitely do that.
You know, you don't have to buy the topsoil or anything, you just take the grass up there, you're gonna get rid of it anyway.
Yeah.
And just fill in the spot at the back.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Just like that, yes. We'll look into that.
All right, great discussion. That was good. I think we had a great option. I think, I mean, kudos to the staff and everything else is finding the options for us too as well. Do I need to make a change on this? Or should I just give it to you? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause it's like a modified.
Is there- Yeah, this is gonna give another nice facelift for our hall too as well. I mean, like, it's gone a lot of nice facelifts, over the last, 4 years. And, this is gonna make another nice big difference for sure, so.
Especially since now it's being rented as often as Ali said, it's getting booked up rather fast.
It's turning into, if it's not already there, probably one of the nicest halls in our area when you look around. So I think that's what needed to be done in order to make it either usable or not. And I think that was, we've done a great job at making it as usable as possible, which is now hopefully turning into, after we get through this COVID thing, to get more rentals and yeah, it's gonna be great.
It may be slightly different than that once we get the pricing on the topsoil, but that's option 2, which is removing the rear parking lot. For now, it's gonna come back to council, so we'll give you the full numbers whenever it comes
We
back to
had that
council.
time, yeah. So, well, I think it's a kudos because we, once again, like Steve brought that up, we brought this stuff out early. We saw this last year when we did this too as well. We saw the savings and we saw that. So I mean, like, I know you kudos council for getting it done, but also making sure that you got it out there. And like, that's an amazing amount of response we got. So let's keep doing that and make sure that's the lesson that we've learned for the future too as well. So this is moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Reeve Jennings. That council award contract 2023 PW -01 to in-depth contracting for option 2 as presented. And that staff is directed to use additional money from recreation reserves to fund the 78-1870. So that's $7,818.70 to the grant funding of $118,000 for the paving portion. And the staff is authorized to issue any change orders to prevent delays with the approval of the clerk administrator. All in favor? Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
I might say Deputy Reeve throughout all those. Sorry, my brain's not.
It's all good. It's all good. Next is, that's why Steve's not going anywhere, is Steve again for the micro resurfacing award.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Carroll. So the report before you is the micro resurfacing tender results. So this is tendered in conjunction with Lanark County and multiple municipalities throughout Lanark County. Kind of a yearly report we do on our maintenance. So this one came back with great pricing of $187,569.12, including non-recoverable HST. And that is to microsurface with the double lift on Kelly Jordan Road, and that's Kelly Jordan between Carroll and Highway 15, and also the dead end portion while we're there as well. And then Ford Road from 15 to the dead end, or to the asphalt end. Staff has been following the roads need study and the asset management plan with all this stuff. You'll see with Ford, I've pulled that forward. I believe it's 2029. It's in the roads need study when it's actually called for to have the partial. If you've been on it, that road's probably not going to make it till 2029 with the current condition. So this will give us a bit more time just to kind of get closer to that to do a partial. Out of all the roads that are in between our current year and upcoming project, this is probably the one that needs the most work. And it came in very cheap. I mean, we came in at $64,000. So I think we're in a great position. We're moving ahead with the roads need study, and we're staying right in line with our asset management plan. So we're kind of hitting both those benchmarks right now. And then the biggest thing council cares about is obviously we're 77,000 under budget on what was budgeted. There'll be some slight costs coming out of that just for cold patching on the edges and then some minor asphalt replacement throughout the road. But I don't anticipate that much money. So, I mean, we're going to have quite a bit of savings on this project as well. And just looking for recommendation to award to Miller Paving. Any questions?
So open this up to questions to council.
I'm gonna say I like all the work you did, I like the savings, but I'm not gonna, as much as this is on my road, I don't wanna vote on this one. I just wanna abstain from voting. I think you did great work, but this is my road, so I can't.
You don't feel.
I don't feel comfortable. I'd rather not vote on something that's on my road.
You have every right to do that. I mean, like, there's.
I know I can,
Yeah,
because it's not really conflict.
yeah.
It is for the benefit of Montague, but because it's my road, being Ford Road, I don't wanna abstain.
That's fair. It is in our roads you'd say, but that's fair, and we're still.
I still think everything you did, the cost savings is fantastic, and the fact that it's gonna benefit in the future, but being it's my road, I'd rather not.
Perfect. Any other questions at all, or, a couple is that Kelly Jordan was one of the priority ones too as well, right? It wasn't as one of the listings as far as on the.
Priority wise, yes, in the Rosny study, but it was an asset management plan to be completed this
So
year.
in the asset management side of it, that's where
That's right.
that's where the connections are a little bit
Exactly,
there, but it's
yeah.
there, okay. The other question I have would be, I mean, it's great. I mean, savings are great. The next one is it best to keep those savings into future considerations? Or is there something else that we could be looking at that we could be, I mean, there's always something we could be fixing. But I mean, like, is there something else that you think that, hey, we have that money that we now could maybe utilize for that? What is your thoughts as far as not to put you on the spot like that?
That's great. I mean, it's like you're reading Alice into my minds. We were actually just discussing this, and you'll have a report before you guys shortly on something that we can put some of these savings towards, which could help us with grants or anything in the future. So, I mean, right along with what you're saying is kind of thinking of the future and putting this money to the right spots and making sure we're setting ourselves up for shovel-ready projects. So I will hopefully have this one for next meeting. So we'll see something on that savings next meeting.
I love asking those questions because your responses are exactly what I'm looking for, so it's perfect. So if there's no more questions, moved by Reeve Jennings and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council directs staff to award tender PW-C-09-2 023-23-E0 to Miller Paving Limited for $187,569.12, including non-recoverable HST. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. That was a good one. That was a good one.
I try and keep our contract numbers a little smaller than the county.
Moving on to the household hazardous waste option, and it is the Steve Show, so take it away.
Thank you again. So this one report before you is for information, and it's just going back when we discussed, I believe that was with the waste survey. There's some direction to bring back information regarding our different options that we could do for hazardous waste. So I just kind of put in our report what we're currently doing. So obviously we currently have the option at the Carleton Place Waste Depot. And all residents are able to go there. Proof of ID is required. We just got our bill not too long ago for $3,700 for 2022. And that's kind of our one option we're currently doing. That's always included in the budget right now. We have $4,000 in for this year, just a little bit of an increase. The other options we looked at was looking at what our southern partner or municipalities are doing. So I reached out to Merrickville. They don't have anything themselves, what they do, but their upper tier municipality or county looks after it all. And it's actually entirely nothing to do with the lower tier. So the upper tier looks after organizing it and actually paying for the service. So the Merrickville right now doesn't pay anything for hazardous waste. So the only thing is I believe they have one that's close by to them, but the rest of them are just sorted all throughout the county. So there's 3 of those a year. And in speaking with Merrickville, they kind of anticipate that in the shortcomings, there's probably something that may get downloaded as well. So this is something that maybe once, if that does ever get downloaded, another conversation to be had on if Merrickville has any interest in, looking at those options. The next one we looked into was actually something like the large item day here. They would be bringing in a certified company that would look after collecting and disposing of it all. So to bring this company in, just to have them here is $7,000 to set up. That brings a tractor trailer supervisor and their chemical technician team. What it doesn't include is they require a forklift. We don't have any forklifts or anything for our backhoe for this. So there'd be an extra cost to rent that for a day. And then they request about 3 to 5 people. Their idea is usually if we reach out to an environmental group that usually volunteers for these things, that would be a way to save costs. Or if we can't get anybody, then obviously we're looking at most likely my department with the public works guys to assist with this. So there'd be added cost if there's no volunteers. So once that's done, it's really an 8-hour day, and the biggest cost follows that is the disposal. So this is very high level estimated cost. So where I received the number from, it's based on his experience and what he's seen in other municipalities of similar numbers. So he quoted us at $13,000 for disposal. I think it might be a bit higher for us, but you never know. There is a lot of calls we get about this, so it could be a huge hit, and we could be up in that neighborhood of cost. So for this one day, ballpark pricing was about $20,000 plus if we have any staff time and forklift rental. So that's the report for information. Is kind of the option we have right now, other than what our current place option is to do a drop off here and about ballpark of $20,000. And it's for information, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to share.
Thank you, Stephen. I will open it up to council for any questions.
I think it's just best to leave it Carlton Place.
And I mean,
Under the situation. Right?
like we spoke about, there's definitely a lot of websites and places, especially for paint and that, where our residents can't take it all throughout the year. So we're trying to post all that on our website, trying to make it available to residents as well. So, I mean, we'll definitely keep with Carlton Place and keep posting online and where residents can take that stuff.
I think it's great that we went out and just to make sure. We want to make sure that this is still current and we're doing the right thing. I think it was brought up to make sure that there wasn't a better option out there. I think right now we have a better option than our partners on the other side, when they only have these certain days at certain random places where, like, I can go anytime during the summer to bring myself to Carlton Place. It doesn't make it any more accessible on the other side of the river. So I think that was good. If it does get downloaded and Merrickville is looking at taking it on, we might be able to partner with them on something on a certain time frame. But until and when that happens, I think that would be a future discussion. And I agree with Jim. I think right now it is the best option as far as, like, and I think we have the data to support it too as well. So people the public were to ask about it, we'd say we did inquire about it. This is the costing behind it. This is why it's really more accessible for you to bring it to Carlton Place as far as that goes. So I think it's a great piece of information. And so Jenny,
Yep, it's okay, got it. Just to clarify though, it's Saturdays from 8 to 12.
Saturday 8 to 12 on
Yeah,
the
between the long weekend of May till the Labor Day weekend.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, sorry, it's not every day,
But yeah,
you're right, yeah, but there's a time,
Yeah.
a lot more
Yeah.
accessibility than
Yeah, every
anywhere
Saturday
else.
morning.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind, like especially what happens with Merrickville and like Smith Falls is the same, right? They have to go to Carlton Place. There may be future interest there to partner on something, so I think it's good we have this information and we're not gonna forget about it.
Yep, that's perfect. All right, well, so moved by Councillor Vass and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the council received this report on household hazardous waste dated February 21st, 2023 as information. All in favor?
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for everything. We will move on, and we are going to bring up Ms. Francis to talk about the Rosedale Hall rental rates.
Thank you, Council. It's been a few years since I was standing here doing reports, so this is kind of fun. Before you is the Rosedale Hall rental timeframes and rates report, just kind of based on a number of things. With all the grant funding that staff has been able to secure for Rosedale Hall, all the updates that have been happening, the hall has turned into a really beautiful place that a lot of people have been interested in renting for a variety of different events. You know, baby showers, bridal showers. We've had a few calls about stag and does, wedding receptions, all sorts of different things. You'll note that as of February 15th, the hall was inquired about or booked 17 times. That's a month and a half into the year, which 17 events is quite a few. Some of those are repetitive. There's, you know, a community group that's in there most Sunday mornings. I believe the Fire Association is trying to start up maybe a dart night or something like that. But there's plenty of interest in the hall, so we were just trying to make the time frames and the rates a little bit more flexible for both the staff end as well as a resident who's maybe looking to have the facility. The current fee structure does not exactly make sense for rentals that maybe go a little bit later into the day. Right now, the options are a half day, which is considered 4.5 hours, or a full day, which is from 12:01 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Some people don't need the hall, you know, from midnight until 8 o'clock in the morning or so. Some people don't need the hall later at night. So the new proposed, I guess, fee structure and time rates will kind of allow for, you know, maybe multiple rentals on the same day. If something's happening in, you know, the morning or the early afternoon, someone can be in there, and then another group in, you know, for maybe an evening event like a stag and doe or a late birthday type party. Also, based on the current layout of the hall, there's no way to separate the kitchen from the rest of the hall. So I guess staff felt that there was really no point in offering a kitchen only rental if you can't rent just the kitchen, if that makes sense. As well, there was a bit of an increase to the rental cost specifically for the partial rental or the half day. We have hired casual or on-call janitors that go in and clean up, open up the hall, close the hall. It's just kind of to ensure that the township's not losing money on shorter events to, I guess, promote those as well as not lose money. So there's a couple of options. Future upgrades to the hall as well may allow for a fob entry system, which may also save money from having the custodian or bartender open up and close the hall. Obviously that would be a little bit further down the line, hopefully with more grant money in the future, but just important to note as well. So the option that I'm proposing, I suppose, is that kind of to encourage the public use of the hall for different types of events, we add in a couple of extra options, I suppose, for rental times. As I mentioned before, right now there's a full day or a half day and nothing really in between there. So I've proposed that we offer a full weekend rental rate where you would have the hall from, say, 5 p.m. on a Friday to 5 p.m. on a Sunday. This would be useful for someone, you know, maybe looking to have a wedding or a reception. They could come in on the Friday night, get everything set up, know that the Saturday their event is happening, nothing's going to be touched, no one else is coming in and out, nothing's going on, and then they have the full day on Sunday to finish up their event as well as clean up their event, which, you know, is important. We like people to clean up a little bit, not entirely, but it sure helps our custodians. There is also a 24-hour rental, which would be the same as what is the full day rental now, where it begins at 12:01 a.m., goes to 11:59 p.m. on any calendar day, just kind of for clarity's sake. There's also a 12-hour rental option, which could begin at any time during the day. So if someone wanted to have, you know, an event that maybe started at 5 p.m., they could go until 5 a.m. Again, stag and doe type thing, only because we've had plenty of inquiries about that, and the current fee structure is a little bit difficult. Right now, you would have to rent the full day or a half day, as well as an additional half day on the Sunday for anything going past midnight. Again, if you're having a wedding reception or a stag and doe, if any type of event with a bar at that hour, you're probably not going to be shutting it down at midnight. I could be wrong, but and then on the new fee schedule, any township resident would pay $100 less for a rental for someone compared to, I guess, resident versus someone who doesn't live within Montague's boundaries. Currently, the cost difference varies based on the rental length, which makes it a little bit difficult from a staff perspective to, I guess, charge up at the front desk. And then any event with a bar would be $50 more compared to one without. Again, it currently kind of varies. The new $100 non-resident charge and $50 bar charge will help staff in calculating rental costs quickly, and the bar-specific charge will also help offset cleaning costs, as those type of events do require a little bit more cleanup. All of the rates are proposed in the report, as well as a little bit of information, like I mentioned, about the different types that are being proposed. And then there's also a copy of the new rental agreement. Nothing else really changed other than currently we have noted that if you'd like to book a day during the week, I believe it's Monday through Thursday, it costs $40 and you're responsible for your own cleanup. We removed that because it didn't really make sense, as our custodian would be going in anyway to clean up after, or at least to make sure that it was cleaned properly. The people that were renting did not have access to the cleaning supplies that our custodians do over there. So again, there wasn't really a lot of sense in offering a rate that we were going to have to then pay our custodians to come in and check in or clean up anyway. So if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer or maybe provide clarification if needed, but the report is there.
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, don't go anywhere because it's the time where we get to grilling with questions now, so that's good.
Lovely.
So I'd say I'll open it up to council as far as, before I do that, I mean, I guess I'll just quickly state, we've been playing with the rates for the last few years through COVID too as well, so there's a lot of trickery there. So I think we're just kind of fine tuning this kind of stuff, and I kudos on you on trying to find ways to make sure that we're fine tuning that a little bit more and sort of reacting to what you're seeing as far as rentals and inquiries and everything else. So I think that's exactly what we would hope for is sort of reacting to as we're sort of opening it back up and everything else. So on that note, I would any questions from council at all? Go ahead, Jim.
I just had the one is, did you check around at any of the halls to see what they're charging? Or is that something that, I'm just curious because.
I myself did not. We kind of just were working off of the current rates and trying not to increase them too much, while also still making sure that the township would be able to make a little bit of a profit, as we do have to pay. I believe it's 4 hours. Ali, correct me if I'm wrong, for every rental, an hour for opening, an hour for closing, 2 for cleaning. So there is a cost there for each event. So we didn't just come up with a number that we thought sounded good. There was a little bit of figuring out behind that, but I myself didn't check around.
Yeah,
I
so
do a lot of work in Hanley Hall and some of the ones, and I'm just curious what their prices were.
So when we originally reset our fees last year, we did reach out to the other townships to see what they were sitting with. And some of the halls are substantially smaller than ours, don't accommodate the same, some of them don't have bars in them. There's some differences, but we set our fees even last year already because we were actually losing money. We had to increase them just based on what it was costing us, but we are more than competitive even at these prices for our residential rates with the other halls of similar sizes.
Yeah, that was like when we went through that. I think you were gonna mention that too as well.
Yeah.
We had done that as part of it. This is like the tuning of the original side of it. We had done some of that research before too as well. So
The only
great
reason
question.
why I was asking was because the only downfall that I have ever heard of our hall is it's out of town. And when people are drinking and driving, so I just didn't want us to be, $50 or $75 higher than, say, Civitan or Hanley Hall or one of these ones here. That's the only thing. That's the only drawback. It's a great hall, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That was all.
very valid
Thank
question.
you.
Very good. Yeah. Morgan, you just like.
I was wondering, have you got inquiries for like people that are wanting to like offer classes, like yoga or like athletic classes or art classes or anything like that?
Not exactly. The closest thing would be the French March Break summer camp. That's kind of geared a little bit more towards children, obviously, but that's kind of the only.
I mean, like
No.
classes for children, like just
Classes.
like fitness classes. Or
Yeah,
art
there's nothing
classes,
again
or-
from me.
You haven't had requests.
No, maybe Allison has received something.
I know too, the recreation committee are talking about having
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
I think they're looking at getting some fitness classes and possibly having someone come in to do some of the crafts and the arts and things like that, so that's what the rec committee are looking at.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Cause I'm just looking at the fees. I think that the lowest fee there is $100 or something like that, which I think makes it like cost prohibitive to be having a 1 hour Zumba class or something like that. But if the rec committee's gonna work on it, then
Yeah, so the rec committee has spoke about potentially working with somebody to do that, and it would be through the rec itself, so then there wouldn't be the rental fee.
right, perfect.
Perfect. Any other questions that we want to grow Grace with at all on this opportunity? Great, this is great. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny. The council approved the change in rental timeframes rates for Rosedale Hall presented in the option 1 based on an increased level of interest from the public. And that the rate become effective March 1st, 2023 with all renters who have already booked the hall after March 1st, 2023, having the option to adjust their rental according to the new rates. And that staff bring forward an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw at the March 7th, 2023 council meeting. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving into the next one will be, I guess, Ali taking this one for the Lanark County Climate Action.
Thank you. So this is a request from the County of Lanark for the township to have a representative on their Lanark County Climate Action Implementation Working Group. So I don't know, attached are the terms of reference, if there's any interest from any council members to sit on. They do want a response by February 28th, so if we're looking to appoint a member of the public, it would be a very short time frame to be able to get that. Is there any interest from council to sit on this committee or board? Group?
So thank you, Ali. I know from there was a note in there, but in the past has been the Deputy Reeve. I'm sitting on the Trails Committee right now for myself, and I'm hoping I put that out there to even somebody on council, but I'd like to go out to the public and see who we have in our public that are interested in the Climate Action Committee. I know on the campaign trail that there's been some inquiries. Did we lose internet, or is that just that one? Just that one? Sorry, okay. There were some inquiries from residents about some of the climate action stuff that's in our municipality and options, and I think maybe reaching out to those people might be helpful. I think we're just gonna have to tell the county we're not gonna have a answer by the February 28th deadline. Unless there's somebody here on council that is that would like to be on that committee, so maybe I'll open that up first. So I see no volunteers. So that's I think I'd like to see what the public has, because I think getting people that are also maybe have a background and interests might bring a little bit more value to that committee than myself. I don't want to speak for you, but I think that might be a better option. And then if we don't have any options out there for that, then maybe we can make a decision then, and maybe for our next council meeting, so we can advise the county that we will let them know after our maybe next meeting. Does that make sense? Oh, yes.
The only other option I would suggest is if there was staff that might be interested to sit as our representation. If there is nobody from the public as well, like, I don't want to add it to staff, but if, it's entirely up to them. If there's a thought.
So sure, let's maybe look into the, there's a contact I want to contact, and we can also bring it to staff, and maybe we can figure out an answer as far as that goes. Is that?
So we're gonna put it to the public though?
Yeah.
To see if there's interest
Yeah.
to sit on it?
Does that make an agreement with that? I mean, we might have people in the public that are very, very keen on sitting on something like this on the county, where they, you know, if there's people in the public that are interested, are strong advocates for this climate action, they might be the right people to be there, from our township too as well. So I'd like to put it out to them to give, the public the opportunity to be the voice. That would be a little bit more knowledgeable too as well.
Sounds good.
Is that agreeable for everybody? Okay. So like, sorry, Alan.
Modified paperwork.
I'm gonna retype these for you to sign at the next meeting.
Sure. I encourage anybody on council or staff or people listening or members out there, if they think of, if they know somebody, to make sure that they get that posting, or to contact the office too as well, to have that conversation, so. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah.
So what we have is moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Reeve Jennings. The council direct the clerk administrator to post expression of interest from the public that would like to sit on the Lanark County Climate Action Implementation Working Group, and that a report back to council on interested parties be presented. All in favor? Next on the docket is the clerk administrator, Allison, about the soccer field options.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this soccer field has been a discussion item at the township for several years. So back in 2009, the township received approval from the Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure and the Ministry of Health Promotion to construct a 60 by 100 meter sports field with a walking path around the perimeter. The sports field was erected or built in 2010. When it was built, there was no goalposts installed at the time, and the field has not been utilized ever since. So staff has been in contact with the school board, employees who are responsible for the agreements and capital purchases and community use of the school spaces. So we have provided them our recreational feasibility plan, kind of the step one that shows the access from the soccer field to the 22 acres that the township owns next door. While having conversations with them, it was noted that the soccer clubs did not have interest in using the field back at the time due to the lack of washroom facilities for those that are using the field. The school board is not interested in having outhouses or portable washrooms on their property just due to vandalism and items as such that they've had in the past and issues. They are open to having an agreement with the township for a right-of-way over to the field, potentially even a legal right-of-way over to the field. And they are open to the township purchasing and having the install of new goalposts put onto the field for use by the community groups. They're also open to us having an agreement where we look after the rental of the fields, as opposed to going through their community use website and paying the school board. At this point in time, I don't think we would be there yet, just seeing that we don't even have a parking space or anything over on the 22 acres. I think that we need to keep in mind, and I know it's been said, I believe by the previous Reeve as well, that the field hasn't been used for so long. It may need also some upgrades as far as topsoil and things like that. But these are the options that are put in front of council this evening because it has been a discussion for years. And staff is willing to or open to starting paperwork on an agreement with the school board. We just need direction on what exactly we're looking for at this point in time. So the school board did provide us an estimate or a quote for the school soccer goalposts because it has to be up to their standards, and the installation of $6,775. And so there's options to consider that we complete it. Another option is that we complete it and we also put in portable washrooms and have discussions with the soccer groups to see if we can get people to utilize the space, or we do neither.
I'll come to you in a second. Thank you. I just want to preempt a little bit of it too as well, because it's one of those things where this was done back in 2010 and it never really was completed, and we've tried to work, or there has been discussions in the past too as well, I think with the former trustee and maybe a member of council to try to get things going. I had a great chat with Carol DeFore, who is now the trustee for that school, which is good. And one of her big things was about the sports and that. And I just want to read something real quick if I can before I come to you. And really what's more about sort of her support too, as well as far as where it goes. So she's basically, hi Jeff, during the municipal election period, I clearly heard from parents of Montague School and Montague community members that they really wanted an agreement between the Upper Canada District School Board and the township to address the use of the soccer field. There's a strong desire for families to be able to participate in local recreational activities rather than having to drive to another township or community. Many young families also indicate that the access to the local recreational opportunities would be a consideration for them to remaining in the community long term. After being elected trustee for Ward 2, I followed up with the Upper Canada School Board, as did other stakeholders, and there has been discussion between the board and township on this issue. I fully support the installation of the soccer nets, and I think it'd be a win-win situation for the township, the school, and most importantly, the children and families of the Montague area. I've also had the opportunity to visit Montague Public School a few times, and I'm very impressed with the fantastic work that is being done by the students, staff, and administration of the school. And tomorrow night during the Upper Canada School Board meeting, Montague Public School will be highlighted. You can tune into the board meeting at 6:30 to link into that. Our children and family deserve the work that we work together, and I'm happy to see that together we can make a difference. So I just wanted to bring that up too, as well as some of the work that's after all these years that we were able to get the trustee to also help sort of support to get us there too as well. So on that note, I will open it up to Joe.
I think it's a great opportunity to give a place for kids to go. I just think we should also look into potentially, before agreeing to put in goalposts, if there is a cost to fix up the field, if there's a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 cost to fix that up. You were talking about parking issues because we're looking at building a parking lot. Should we wait, say yes, we want to gear this money towards that, but wait until next year? I'm just saying there might be other costs and implications and saying, hey, holding off one more year because we have to redo the field. I'm just saying maybe we should wait to see if there's something else that has to be done first before we say, hey, let's put $7,000 into a field, but we're gonna have goalposts, but by the way, you got no field. I'm just saying it just in case that's an issue, because you were saying that it hasn't been used since 2010 that we set it up, so we don't know what I've never been there to be completely and totally transparent. I don't know what the field looks like today. It might be fantastic and all it needs is goalposts, and then this is a great idea, but I'm just saying maybe we should look to see what the field looks like, what's the cost implications, if we do this year, or maybe we fix the field and wait till next year. That's my only input on that.
And just, I think to build on that too, I'd be interested to know if we put the goalposts, like if the field needs work, we put the goalposts in this year, can the work on the field be done like around the goalposts, or will the goalposts have to be removed, the field fixed, and put back in? Because I would just be interested to know, because if there's like a significant cost to redo the field, maybe we don't have it this year, but we have the money for the goalposts. We can put the goalposts in as long as the field can be fixed later.
And at least the kids at the school can use it at recess and stuff.
Good point too, Dave. Anybody else? Yes?
So is it being open to the public to use the soccer field?
It would be considered a community field, so.
Yeah, so it would be community use. You would book it just like you would any other field at any other school online, or they're providing us the option to getting into an agreement with them where it would all be through us. So the use of the field would be through the township and how we deem fit for that, and we would have the insurance on that then.
Yeah, so that's not what I was looking for, is for us to take it on. I was just wondering that since it sits on the school property, and on the weekends, if somebody goes to go and use it, they're gonna be parking at the school. So then where does all of this come into play? Cause it's not on our 22 acres, it's on their land.
That's right. So it would have to be booked through the community use space for that, if we don't take it over.
But as a community field, if it's not being used and someone were to pull in there and go play soccer just with a bunch of kids or their friends and all that kind of idea, it's a community field, so there's no obligation where they're not allowed to be on those fields. The only obligation that the school board's put on is after dark.
Okay. That's what I want a clarification on,
Yeah.
is if the general public just pull in and then go over and start.
Obviously, if it's been booked, then they can, the
Yeah.
soccer field comes up and
No.
says, you guys gotta leave,
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
have it
no.
booked, and they gotta leave,
Got
but
that,
in that
but-
time frame that anybody can use it because it's a community field, in the timeframes of the daylight, of daylight, they do have, restrictions when it's dark.
So it's deemed community field even though it's on their property.
Correct. Yeah. I think those are, I think Councillor Kenny brings up a very good point too as well. And as far as repairs, I've seen repairs done around goalposts and to put out the topsoil. Really, the field's in good shape. There's a couple spots where some filling in of the holes of topsoil and some seeding is what needs to probably make it 100% you could almost say the best soccer pitch probably in the area. It is well made. So that would really make it a suitable soccer field, and in the meantime, you would still have the kids being able to use it too as well. I think this is also too as well something that past councils have been, and Jim could probably even attest to that beforehand, of trying to like get that finalized, and there's been situations that have gotten in the way. We have found a way to mitigate those situations and get it moving forward, which I think is fantastic. Carol has been fantastic too as well to help us with that. So I think it's great for us to be able to go forward with this, because it's something that we've been trying for before I even came on council. So I mean, I think this is great. That's a great opportunity for us to finally sort of, along with some of the other things that we've been finishing up that have taken a while to get to be able to kind of move forward with that, and leaving it with the school board to do with through their booking system. Right now is the best way to do it, and I think as we get closer to summer, we can discuss with where it's going to look for the soccer association, especially if there's needed for like the washrooms or how that we can mitigate that. But this is the first step that's going to get us to those following steps too as well. So those are my thoughts. So yes.
One more thing, so there will be documentation that, like, if we invest this $7,000, $6,000 and change, or whatever it was, they can't then say, oh, now we got it, well, you can't use it. I just wanna make sure that this is all like dotted, crossed, hey, we got a big, but no, you guys can't use it. So as long as the documentation's there, I think it's great for us to have another place to be able to utilize.
100%. I think that's a great point too as well. And I think once again, to go back with Carol too as well, is that, I mean, she has been a strong advocate to making sure that those things are done right. And I've never had an indication from her that she wants to turn it back. She wants to make sure that we're partnering. So I think there's no interest whatsoever of turning it back. Let's keep that partnership going. And I think that's great. And this is the best we've ever had a chance for a partnership since this thing's been started.
So keeping in mind with that we are going to work on a written agreement for access to the field from our 22 acres, so that when the time comes that we get our parking lot in place and things like that, that we're going to have an access to the 22 acres. So that would kind of mitigate what you're bringing forward, in the sense that, will they block us off entirely? So to be honest, hopefully we can get this agreement in place that at some point in time, maybe the soccer field actually comes back into ownership of the township or something in that type of thing. But we're gonna work on an agreement then with the access to the soccer field and get all those things in place so that at least it's done and there and ready for whenever the time comes that we get funding and start working on our 22 acres.
Perfect. Yes, Jim?
Is there any grant available for the post? Like, is there any, I mean, I know you've been getting lots of grants for different things.
So that's a
but-
difficult one because it's on school board property, so technically, I would have to have a lease agreement with them for me to apply for grant funding. And they probably have, so usually the provincial government can't apply for funding. So it would be kind of a difficult one. I think that
That's
our
fine.
grant applications are probably gonna be better off used to bigger items, as opposed to a $7,000
Yeah.
purchase.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Wonderful. Moved by Reed Jennings and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council proceed with option, let me go back to my page here, sorry. One, yeah, thank you, sorry. In relation to the soccer field at the Montague Public School location. All in favor? That's carried, thank you, everyone. Great discussion, that's fantastic. MALEO quarterly report that was just missed, I guess, from the last meeting, so just more for information, I guess, if there's any questions about it. I'm seeing none. So moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council accept the fourth quarter MALEO report presented at this date as information. All in favor? Perfect. Next is the bylaw services. As we know, Laura has tendered her resignation for the bylaw portion, so Ali has a report for us for that.
Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Chair. I lost my internet there for a second, so I always have paper. Okay, so our current bylaw officer / animal control has provided council resignation of the bylaw services, but has provided a quotation to stay on as animal control. So this evening you will see in front of you two different, so you'll see Ms. Lawson's proposal for animal control. And you'll see the Frontenac bylaw services for animal control and bylaw combined. Keeping in mind in this report at the time, Municipal Law Enforcement Jim McBain had not provided pricing. He did call today and is interested in servicing the area with bylaw as well, as he does have Beckwith, Carlton Place, Mississippi Mills, other townships in Lanark County as well, and in Renfrew County. So at this time, the recommendation, just based off of Frontenac Bylaw Services, I have not worked with them in the past. I'm not overly sure of, they're a little further away, so for animal control, it would be less timely. Mr. McBain said the same thing today, that it wouldn't be as quick, obviously, for him to attend for an animal control call as what it would be for Ms. Lawson. In front of council this evening are options. Keeping in mind that we can go to RFP at any time as well. Ms. Lawson is done at the end of March. So we have options to go continue animal control with Ms. Lawson and hire Frontenac or Mr. McBain whenever I provide additional pricing for the bylaw services, or switch entirely to one of the other services that will offer both bylaw and animal control. The financial implications, these are estimated based off 40 hours a month. I don't know that we would be 40 hours a month, but and 2,000 kilometers of mileage just for the financial side, just because I wanted kind of worst case scenario. So you will see that for animal control alone, it's $12.50 a month, plus the cost of mileage, 2,000 kilometers. Animal control tends to be the higher mileage as opposed to bylaw enforcement, because our vet is in Kemptville, or our pound is in Kemptville. We do pay the WSIB costs of Miss Lawson and insurance. For option 2, Frontenac and Mr. McBain would be similar to this. Frontenac has a standby fee, so that includes all phone calls, 24/7 response. All of that's in your $498 a month, and then the average hours per month, so the 40 hours at $28.69 would be for whenever they have to leave their site and come on our site, and then average mileage of 2,000 kilometers a month, and you'll see the 2 variations. Option 3, it might be a little emphasized as far as the hours required for bylaw. It's based off of the $12.50 monthly and the similar cost for Miss Lawson through the whole thing, because that doesn't change. And Frontenac would change. You still have your standby fee. There's no change if they do one or both. And the average hours per month would be 20, and mileage maybe 1,000, for a total of 52. Option 4 would be wait on the response, which Mr. McBain did call me today, or go out to a formal request for quotations.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, there's a lot of information there, a lot of numbers. I will open it up to council if there's any questions or comments.
I have comments. Of course I do. So my opinion is to either go with option 2 or to go with Mr. McBain. For the sheer fact that, first of all, it's a huge cost savings. You're going to be saving about $20,000 a year. Number 2, for whatever reason, and it's beyond me, in option 1, we're covering the WSIB cost and the insurance cost for Ms. Lawson, which is dumbfounded me when I read it. The reason I say that is if she wants to be part of the animal control, which is the most likely to be injured and or hurt. That being said, she's the most likely to get hurt. And if she gets hurt, we still have to pay her and find someone else to cover her anyways. So that being said, this, if we did keep Ms. Lawson, I would say that she'd have to cover her own and figure out another way around this, is we should never have been covering this. I don't know how that slipped through. Usually, this is a self-employed agreement. Usually it'd be, if you're taking on a contract, you take on the whole contract, including your own WSIB and your own insurance. It never gets taken, and I'm saying this as being an ex-self-employed employee, as hiring self-employed employees, they don't come under my company's WSIB claim. So if they get hurt, then I have to pay them to relatively do nothing, and I have to get somebody else to do the work. So from all that being said, for the cost to the community, for this cost savings to the community, I would go with option 2.
Did you have something that you wanted to say to that, Allison?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that she has several agreements with other municipalities, and they're all the same. Just so everybody knows.
So would she be given so like under our cost agreement, she's given $12.50 a month for standby. So would she get $12.50 a month from 4 different communities for standby if she's not able to work?
Well, that's not, and that's not what we're discussing this evening, but so this evening those are the options in front of council. Keeping in mind, as I said, there's potentially savings. These are estimated costs based off of the others. I think the only thing that you're going to see is that there's going to be cost savings, but the time for animal control is going to be delayed compared to currently.
So I'll go. Yeah, we'll see a cost savings, but we may see a
change in
dip
service
in the way the service is. So that has to be kept in mind too as well.
So in the last quarterly report, we had 12 calls, 4 of which were bylaw. So we had 8 calls. In the previous quarterly report, they had 9 calls. So I'm just saying, so that being said, we're not talking about a whole lot of calls. So I'm just saying, if there's a little bit of a dip in having to wait a little bit, I think that we can probably live with it.
Yes, Jim?
I like option two too, for the savings of the money. And if they're gonna do both, I think they'd be better at doing both jobs in one.
Thanks, Jim.
That's my opinion.
Ms. Jennings?
So did Jim McBain also provide that there would be no contract, that we could end it at any time, the same as Frontenac?
Yeah, so I think that if we're looking at option two, that I would recommend allowing me to bring back something at the meeting in March, just because Mr. McBain did get back to me. It would be open-ended, it would be an hourly rate with potentially a small standby fee. But it would be similar to what the other townships in Lanark County have as well, yeah.
Is that for bylaw and animal control?
He is willing to do both, but did note that the service wouldn't be the same with the response time on the animal control.
That was gonna be my next question, is his location, so he's further away for animal. 'Cause I-
The Renfrew area.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot further away, okay, cause I do know that people have expressed complaints about even now, the time it takes for Miss Lawson to get there sometimes is concerning, so.
I thought at one time though, Mr. McBain had some closer employees that was servicing the area, so I'm not sure if he still does. But because he had so many contracts, he did have employees that were closer, so that they were doing a lot of the calls.
And I guess that's one thing that when Allison goes out to do some more, obviously talking and come back with a report for those two, for those two companies, we'll get maybe a better idea. Because will he be able to give us an estimated turnaround time of stuff, or people that he has that are local? For Mr. McBain, or then for the Frontenac group?
Yeah, I know that Mr. McBain said about an hour.
Okay.
But again, I don't have it in front of me this evening, so.
Perfect. So I'm pretty well hearing from council, I guess the consensus is to go with option two. And so with that being said, we will leave that with Allison then to bring back a report in the next meeting in regards to McBain and the Frontenac two groups, and we can kind of go from there as far as decision goes. Does that amicable for everybody? That's where we're going with that, okay? So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that council proceed with option two.
Yeah.
We have to add to that at all, what to say, like, and to bring back a.
I'm gonna wash off, I promise.
So the council proceed with option two for the bylaw enforcement and animal control service as amended to bring back pricing for municipal law, enforcement. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Move on to the internet options. Take it away, Allison.
Thank you, Chair. So this is options for internet at the township office. So we will be upgrading our server, and we do have substantial issues with the DSL dropping here at the office. Now, keeping in mind that there is funding that's available and that's going to be happening for improvements, they're now looking at, I think, 2025, 2026, potentially for that to happen. So it is recommended that we upgrade our current DSL that's 2510 to at least the 5010. But Bell has provided pricing for us to run 5 from the corner up here of Roger Stevens and Rosedale in the amount of $17,000, and then enter into a 5-year agreement for the 100 is the $550 per month. We can wait to see, because the county is working with the group with Bell on where they're going to be servicing with that funding. So we can hold off and wait to see where, if it's gonna run up Roger Stevens here and address us without putting out the money. So in the short term, staff is recommending that we at least upgrade to the 5010 and see if that helps. But if it continues to be an issue, we'll be bringing back another report to address the internet, because when it goes down, we functionally lose everything. So it's been very disruptive.
Yeah, so the internet is obviously a tricky one. I do wonder if going to the 5010 is gonna change anything with the dropping issues at all. It's probably not going to. That's one of the hard parts. I mean, we're, like a lot of people in our municipality, we're sometimes in a wait and see when is the internet gonna come? I know I've been vocal the last 4 years with the Egoran group, where I was criticized of, I shouldn't be so critical as being the new guy in the block when I was criticizing why we weren't moving faster. But that's okay. But I think we continue to push to see if we can get better internet too as well. One thing that from the county, just to kind of touch on what Allison talked about, that the Bell has given a high level review, and this is basically from Kurt at the county, who's the CAO there dealing with Bell, for a high level rollout for fiber in Lanark County. So we're getting there. We've been getting there for the last 15 years, but we're getting there. The work is being done under two fundamental streams: the federal universal broadband program and the provincial accelerated high speed internet program. And they're built out in Lanark County to reach about 16.5 homes and businesses with direct fiber by December 31st, 2025. So 16.5 homes and businesses is pretty substantial, considering there's the population of Lanark County is like 60,000. So it reaches out there pretty good. So there's a pretty good chance. The mapping right now is high level that they have. So I think, in my opinion, waiting a little bit longer to see is the right choice, because we want to see that high level map kind of come down to see, okay, where's it actually going to go, and exactly what Allison's saying. If you know, it makes a lot of sense to be running down Roger Stevens. So for us to put out the money, it could be something as painful as it is for the staff right now. It'll hopefully we'll have some resolutions over the next hopefully a year or 2 years at the worst, to solve sort of that internet option. And on that time too as well, like we have replaced our server. We could, when that fiber is ran, that could also help us save in the long term, because we may not need to do a server like we have, a full server replacement that we have, because we'll probably be able to go to more cloud-based when we get to that side too as well. So I know for myself, which kind of trying to be as involved as I was with trying to understand and getting the internet faster to our residents. I think our option is really to wait and see, and that would be option 3, correct? So to continue with the DSL, but I just don't know if there's an advantage of speeding it up. I mean, we could try. I mean, it's $18 a month. It would be my thoughts too as well. And if we don't see any fixing from it all, we can just we're not tied to a contract and we up it to that time. I mean, after 3 months, if we're seeing it no help, then drop it back down to the 2510, I think, it would be a way to go. So those are my thoughts. If there's any questions or thoughts on that, I'd be open to hear that. So,
The
yeah,
high
Jim.
speed is right up to Harper County Road now. I know that because I have it at my house.
What's that?
The fiber optic, the top of what they have for Bell.
Do you have fiber right now?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, and it's at the school too.
Yeah.
So like we're
We're in between.
We're there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's got to be a connection piece there.
Sometime comes
So I
through
mean,
all
like,
these houses.
yeah, I mean, it's we waited this. I hate to say it, we waited this long. So let's see where that goes, and then when it's here, it's hopefully going to be a big difference. So.
Oh, another question. Is there a chance of getting a grant for that? Or I know the government's giving money out for that to bring it down. Like, I mean, is there a chance that, probably couldn't do it for a year by the time you process it, but because when I was up in Roma, they were talking about internet and they're spending millions of dollars to all the communities. Is there any chance that we could get in on part of that 17.
But those grants are there though, right? That's all that money that's out there. That's the grant money that's being allocated. That's
Is for bringing it
that's
down.
finally being spent. I mean, I was critical about that. I remember during the beginning of COVID, I was on a New York conversation saying like, when are we getting this done? Because I mean, I know the private sector is ready to go. They have the knowledge. They have the ability to do it. It's us with our studies and that's been a lot of it too as well. That's what I was critical of. I'm like, why are we doing those studies of this when we know the private company already knows? They're just waiting for you to give them the money so they can lay it out. And now we're finally gone through all of that study stuff, and they're starting to actually lay it out. I mean, we wasted millions of dollars in maybe I shouldn't say wasted, but we invested millions of dollars in those studies to make sure that we need to run the fiber lines. So now we're doing it. So it's there. So the grant money is there for that. So I'm pretty hopeful and confident that we're going to see it come down Rogers Stevens. It makes sense. So.
Ellie, have you looked into the option of wireless? Is it available?
Like Starlink?
No, just Bell Wireless.
No, but our wireless here is terrible. For us, I think it's that we need the hard connection for for all of our stuff. I'm not an IT person, so I'm not really sure.
I just know that like we were on DSL and that was the problem. It was in and out, constantly having to reset and stuff, and it's like old
Yes.
connections and yeah. And so we have Bell Wireless now, which is like a big box they put on top of our house. And it wouldn't, what we have, it's like coming out of Merrickville, so I just don't know where the other towers are, if there would be a tower on this side somewhere that would be available. But it doesn't go in and out anymore. It is stable.
I can answer that too. I can answer to that too. I just had, I don't know, I'll say it was 1.5 hertz or whatever they call it. They increased mine to 3, which is the top that Bell has now. And in the house, it's wireless to like my TVs to everything else. There's no cables running to, and it works fine. But it's right at the top now.
Yeah, but this is wireless like coming in, it's like a big satellite box they put on top of the house, and then after that it's hardwired.
Oh,
into
okay, I see it now. I have hardwired to my house,
It's
but
the
then it's
equivalent,
wireless inside.
it's
So.
the equivalent to like a cell phone. They're using like 5G to service the houses. So that's how Bell's doing it now to houses that don't have a direct connection. So like Bell came around last week and they're offering 50/10. But again, it's a non-direct link. It's a box on the top of the house, like a satellite, but it's more of an antenna that deals like a cell phone. I don't know how it works for this type of industry.
Yeah, I don't know if it would apply here, if it's allowed for security or what, but it was, our DSL was in and out, same here that we've even experienced tonight. And since having this, it's stable.
Yeah, the point to point is because I mean, Storm is that's what Storm's primarily done. Overall, Xplornet uses the same option. Bell is now into that too as well. It's the same thing. They run fibers to the towers. It has to be a direct connect to one of their towers that are around.
Yes.
So they have the fibers to those towers, and then you're doing the direct connect to them. I mean they have a pretty good.
Yeah, you need a
reputation.
sight line to a
It's the sight
tower,
line,
so that's the only, I'm not sure where they are, like our tower's the other side of Merrickville that we connect to, and
Yeah.
the worst of the weather, it might go out, but otherwise, it's not like before, it was every day we were resetting.
And those are options.
Always
Yeah.
ask.
But that's,
Yeah.
you have to, yeah, it's also, you have to call and ask.
They
'cause
do
then-
come in here and actually do a test to see whether
Yeah.
you even qualify or
Yeah.
whether they will literally come here and they say, you have no reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a guy come out with a big old like stick and he was jacking it up all over our yard, like everywhere, until he finally got the connection and they said, okay, you can have it. But yeah, you have to call and ask specifically, you can't just.
They're visiting me on Saturday to see if I can have to get it up too, because I have Storm right now, but they've come and said they want to see if I can do it there too as well at my place. So I think it will work. It could be an option too as well. So
Okay. I will ask about
there
it.
shouldn't be any security. There's no security features or problems with it. It's
I mean,
it's
that's the
still
internet I
encrypted.
run my work on.
It's still encrypted. Yeah.
No
It's-
one's
yeah,
scolded
yeah,
me
yeah.
yet, so.
Yeah, they have to follow certain regulations, obviously.
Yeah.
So it is available. So we'll look into that maybe too as well to see if there's an option with that too as well.
Yep.
Perfect. great discussion again, folks. So moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Reeve Jennings. That council approve option 3 until such time the township has provided information if fiber will be provided through the allocation of Fort Lanark County. And the council approves staff to proceed with option 2 if Roger Stevens will not be a roadway that receives the fiber service through the allocation. And the council approve the use of the moderation funds to pay for the installation construction costs, the additional monthly costs for the service if option 2 is required. And just to make sure that it will come back to council before, obviously that were to happen, so just to make sure everybody's aware of that too as well. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on with Allison again with our Integrity Commissioner.
Thank you. So this is a report to extend the contractor agreement with Cunningham, Swan, Carty, Little, and Bonham as the Integrity Commissioner for all of the municipalities in Lanark County. You see the report in front of you. So it's been Tony Fleming for a number of years. The rate is $2.95 an hour, which is very reasonable for a law firm. So the recommendation is to continue on with them as our Integrity Commissioner. We have $10,000 budgeted in our budget, or in council's budget, for any Integrity Commissioner investigations, or if council needs to contact the Integrity Commissioner to ask whether they have a conflict of interest or some kind of an issue with an item on the agenda.
Thanks, Ally. I mean, it's important that we have the Integrity Commissioner and it's there. I mean, and obviously feeling free to call if you have a question that you're unsure about. It just keeps us out of hot water, and our goal is to keep ourselves out of hot water. And to try to do things with the highest integrity as possible. Tony does have a lot of experience. So far, I think most of the responses that we've gotten back have been what what we expect from the Integrity Commissioner. So I think he's probably still our best option as far as continuing on. So, is there any questions at all with that? No, okay, we're good with that. Okay, so moved by Reeve Jennings and seconded by Councillor Abbas. So the council approved extending the current contract with Cunningham, Swan, Carty, Little, and Bonham, the county's appointed Integrity Commissioner, until March 31st, 2028. That the deputy, Reeve, and clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with Cunningham, Swan, Carty, Little, and Boham for the provisions of services of the Integrity Commissioner. No, is it just because I'm running the meeting, or just because, or should it be?
Oh no, should we read?
Okay, so, yeah, okay, thank you. That the Reeve and the clerk be authorized to execute the agreement with Cunningham, Swans, Carty, and Little, Boham for the provisions of services in the Integrity Commissioner. All in favor? Carried, thank you. We're almost there, guys. So, once again, Ally, for the draft water sewer budget.
Thank you,
I guess you're
Chair.
gonna take that at the.
So this evening you'll see in front of you the 2023 draft water and wastewater budget. Each year we wait for the town of Smith Falls to set their rates based on the agreements from 1986 and 1996 for the Adirondack and the Rideau areas that are serviced with the water and sewer from the town of Smith Falls. For 2023, the town approved a 5.5% water increase and a 3.5% wastewater increase. So our draft budget reflects those changes. So we do have two agreements, just for anybody who's not overly familiar. So our 1986 agreement is for the supply of water and sewer for the Adirondack area, which is about 109 residential units. We own the infrastructure, the underground in the Adirondack area. So whenever the town sets the rates of the 5.5% increase and the 3.5, that's on the usage for us. The base rate is set by the township, and the cost that we have associated with having the Adirondack water system and having a water operator and all those good things. The 1996 agreement is for the Rideau area, which is about 31 residential units. That is all Smith Falls infrastructure. So when it changes, those rates are reflective directly onto those people. and we're charged at 1.75 times that of the town of Smiths Falls. So you will see in front of you for the Adirondack, based on the draft budget, the Adirondack area, and based off of a bi-monthly usage of 20 cubic meters, the annual increase will be about $55.62. So less than $6 a month. For the Rideau, I must have skipped it, did I? Oh, maybe it's down further. So you will see that most of our revenue supply comes from the billings. A small portion from operating reserves and other. I put the wrong one on here. Sorry, I put the wrong pie charts on here. It's all 219s. On mine it is anyways. On
Mine's
yours is it?
219.
Okay, yeah, that's the wrong one. I have it. Let me just grab, sorry. Can we just take a little break?
Yeah, let's take a
I'll
little
grab
break,
the-
take a little break and,
I'll grab it.
We're good?
We're good? Okay.
Okay, welcome back, folks. Thank you, and Allison is, has all the stuff she needs.
Yeah. Okay, so Grace, you're gonna screen share? Okay, so, as I was saying, so you will see that the 2023 Adirondack, the annual, increase would be $55.62. And you'll see for the Rideau area, the annual increase would be about $93.30 based on the changes. You'll see that the water sewer revenue, 97% comes from, again, the water sewer billings, and the other percentage comes from other, which is interest, for the most part, on the billings. The expenses are mostly made up of salaries, benefits, material supplies, and other contracted services, so that looks extremely high, but that's the water and sewer that we purchase from the town, that's why that's up, at that amount. And then the transfer to reserves, because we do have a financial plan in place for the water and sewer as well, that we follow to ensure that we have the funds available to replace our infrastructure when the time comes. So you will see that on the reserve schedule, that we are putting the 35,000 based on the financial plan to have a total ending balance of December 31st of just over $260,000. The budget is inclusive of, we have a second staff member who's continuing to get the hours for the operator certification. Capital reserves match our long-term financial plan approved by council for 2021 through 2030 years. The town of Smith Falls approved a 5.5% increase in water rates and a 3.5% increase in sewer rates for an overall financial change of just over, for us, just under $8,000. As far as the expenditures for the township goes, we had relatively nothing. We had COLA for staff and minor changes like that. It was mostly based on the increases set by the town.
Thank you, Ally. Any questions from council at all? Okay, so, moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council direct staff to bring back the final 2023 water wastewater budget to a special council meeting on March 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. based on discussions this date for approval. All in favor?
It was in council. We approved in council. I put on COW too, just to make sure that the ministry was happy that it went through all of the cycles. Yeah. Because they were a little upset with us before, so we made sure it hit everything.
Okay, so this is the same water annual report from the regular meeting. This is just a cover basis to make sure that all ministries are happy with this. So I assume there's no discussion. So moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that the council accepts the 2022 annual water report as information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No reports of committees, no petitions, no motions and notice of motions, and no unfinished business. But before we adjourn, do we have any questions from out there at all? Anybody at all? Anybody? How about Tom? How about Tom?
I know you have township, we have great staff in communications, but when you're talking about doing the parking lot down at Rosedale Hall, when that happens, I know you're working with a contractor, but if somebody is renting it out for a wedding and it happens to be that weekend and they tore the pavement off and it's all down to gravel and mud, it would be nice, and I'm sure maybe staff is going to do it, but just notify the people that are renting it that, hey, you may have that problem.
This was, yes, thought of it. So Allison.
I know Allison usually always has
She's reading on.
Yeah, so we have it right on the rental agreements right now that for anywhere from April until June, the parking lot could be tore up. So anybody who's renting, and Grace is also advising them of that. So we're making sure that anybody right now who rents from April to June, end of June, realizes that the parking lot could be tore up.
I knew it was a silly question. I have one other question. When you're talking about the animal control officer and so much for mileage, where's that mileage from? Does it start from the township office out to the animal? Or does it start from wherever the person lives or where they are when they get the call?
So, so it'd be from their home base. So if their home base is Renfrew, it would be from Renfrew in that we would be paying that. If it, there is no mileage with, McBain, there is no mileage, it's all included in the hour rate. But for, the Frontenac bylaw services, it would be from their home base here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Pretty good. Any questions on the,
I do.
on the internet?
I do have one. So we have a question from Maggie Kubiseski asking, in regards to the recommendations on the soccer field, before any money is put towards this, will council find out how much the repairs to make the field safe will be? It needed repairs 3 years ago, holes, depressions, etc., and I don't think anything has been done to it to date.
Yep, we did discuss that.
Yeah,
We were
we-
going to check and see what was going to be needed.
Yeah, but obviously we want to continue to move forward, but I mean, we'll have to look at also the repairs of it too as well, of some, maybe some topsoil and some seeding too as well, so, I think that's also gonna be part of that discussion, but we don't wanna also, I think anyways, we're moving forward right now, so let's not stop that, because we're having great discussions, and this is what we've been trying to do for many years. We would have done this 3 years ago, if I think we had the right conversations had, so I think that's a great question, because we want to continue to move forward with it, so.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because we're gonna get that assessment before we do the ordering of the soccer nets, right?
That was my understanding.
Yeah,
To do that,
because the thing is, right, I mean, if it's gonna cost us $50,000 to $100,000 to fix the soccer field, we wouldn't be spending the $7,000 right now on nets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you said, Jeff,
Wait, wait.
it's probably a couple $100 and maybe it's
Yeah.
easy, but if they come back and say it's a,
Total redo or something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
not likely, but at least,
Exactly.
at least
Yeah.
let's satisfy the
Just
public.
check
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
And, you know, it's worth, just double checking, making sure and
100%.
before we write a check.
Yeah,
Did Grace have any questions? Nothing from
that was
there?
the one, that was the,
Oh, just
so,
the same one?
yeah.
Okay.
Great, folks. Any other thoughts or burning questions? Fantastic. It was a great meeting. It was a great discussion. A lot of good things were discussed there tonight too as well. So let's finish her off by moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Reeve Jangs. That the committee of the whole meeting for February 21st, 2023 now be adjourned at 8:28 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone, and have a